just to introduce people to new atheist faces, just to show that there is a community of atheist women, atheist people of color out there, that we are not necessarily relegated to this stuffy old room full of old white men talking about atheism the whole time. So I guess we can just start at the beginning. Like I can tell you, in a paragraph about myself, and then you can do the same, and then we can see where it goes organically. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I've been an atheist now for probably about 10 years. Was raised in, I'm such a cookie cutter Afrikaans Christian, it's not even funny. But then, like I said, about 10 years ago, the peels went off my eyes, I just woke up to the idea. I guess at the end of the day, for me, it was just realizing that there are other religions as well, and looking into it and then realizing, wait a minute, not all of you can be right at the same time, so there's something that's a bit smelly and off here, like what gives. And from there, it was just a gradual process, it wasn't like an aha moment and all of a sudden, all the gods disappeared.
So you didn't wake up an atheist one morning?
Exactly, yeah. And what was your deconversion like?
Well, I've only been an atheist now for about six years. It's really not that long. But I grew up in, I don't know if you know the Old Apostolic Church. Ever heard of it?
Ooh.
There we go.
That's the happy clappy church, eh?
No. We were the opposite of that. Not allowed to look happy at church. What's wrong with you?
I know that there's some flavor of apostolic
and
church.
There's a new apostolic church. Yeah, there's a new apostolic church. Yeah. They broke off from us, and they decided to be the happy people. But I grew up in the Old Apostolic Church. We were not allowed to do anything outside of the church. Not allowed to befriend people outside of the church. Not allowed to have any activities outside of the church. Not allowed to marry outside of the church. And then my mother got dementia. And I was looking at this, and I thought to myself, she's been faithful to this God for how long? For her entire life. And this is how he repays her, by doing this. So how can this be a loving God? I didn't go from Christian to atheist immediately. I went from Christian to misatheist. Because I couldn't understand why any loving deity would do this to a person that's never ever gone off, narrow road. That this didn't make sense to me. And then I kept on that path for a while. And then I joined the Facebook groups, and somebody posted a video that explained the history of Christianity. And after I studied the history of Christianity, I realized that Christianity is it just evolved from other religions. That's all it did. And if it evolved from other religions, it cannot be a true religion. And that was basically it for me. That's when I went atheist.
Yeah. It's like when you realize that the Kool-Aid has been watered down. It doesn't taste as lekker anymore.
No, it's like Santa Claus. Everybody's got a different name for him. But who's the real Santa Claus? At the end of the day,
that's funny.
Just one of those things.
The thing that I find so striking, right, is that women, especially, they considered as second-class citizens in the Bible. There's so many do's and don'ts, and there's almost like this. How can I say? It's like, the curse of Eve is revisited on generation after generation. And, it's only now in the last century that, women have begun to stand up for themselves. And it always strikes me as very odd how, religion plays into that narrative of women being like the servants to men and victims of their of childbearing, and they're just these these machines that are supposed to procreate. It's very telling to me how religion devalues the essence of womanhood, especially in our culture.
Yeah, especially in our culture, because that's how we were raised as well. Even at church, women weren't allowed to stand at the front of the church and smoke. They had to go to the back. Women can never hold a title in the church. And even though they accepted gay people, the church even married gay people. But gay people also couldn't get a title in the church. You understand? So there's still that discrimination on some level. And we weren't allowed to, it's basically barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. But at least you had the option to go and work.
Yeah. No, beasts of burden, that's what,
Yeah.
that's what the Bible is not very kind to women folk, but it's always, I always find it very empowering to see how women, like they, I don't remember who said it. I watched a debate one time. I think it was Christopher Hitchens who said, in order to uplift women, like you don't need to give them religion and control. You just need to give them a leg up, and where you give a small loan and a packet of seeds, women will take that civilization and build it, and that's the, that's the thing that I think religion has a chokehold basically on women, and try to keep them subservient to fit into this whole narrative. And then you look at the South African context, oh my goodness, I'm talking specifically from a Western perspective, but I look at the way that it affects African people, especially, they.
Yes.
You mentioned the word atheist to an African, and it's like you are, the Tokolosh combined with demons riding on Satan's back all the way.
Yes, bareback, completely. But I have to say, when I used to work, we had a cleaning lady. And she knew I was an atheist, and she was completely curious about it. She didn't think there was anything funny about somebody not believing in God. She was more curious than the white people that I worked with.
Right.
The white people shunned me more than what that cleaning lady did.
Yeah.
Oddly enough. And even at work, they brought in this woman that could see demons, and she was there to pray for us, and I don't have time for this. I just told her I'm not interested. And later on I had to hear that it's probably because I'm possessed that I'm not interested in prayer. Needless to say, I don't work there anymore.
Yeah.
You see. But yeah, no, this whole thing of atheists are so scary because we don't believe. It would have been funny if it wasn't so sad.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of stereotypes, that still linger in the public's consciousness about atheists. Like I think we were demonized somewhere in the 60s when somebody backtracked an Elvis record and heard whatever they wanted to hear on the LP.
Yeah, I remember those days. Like, who's so bored they play a record backwards in any case? And then you with the one of yours.
Exactly. Yeah, that's crazy. But I think it's a remnant from that. Like people are very scared of things they don't know and they don't understand. And especially if it's something that challenges a belief that's so very deeply held, like a religious conviction, then obviously they're going to approach it with fear. But as part, me, I consider myself, I'm not like trying to wave a flag or everything, but my form of doing activism is basically to be that opposition, and to be that voice. And I noticed that, like I immediately picked up on your interactions online as well. You're very vocal and, you don't take any nonsense, like at a very certain, yeah. You have to be, not all of us can be, like I said, a brilliant public speaker or whatever, but for me, I think the important thing is that whoever comes to us with religion sees, look, here's a wall, here's an atheist, you shall not pass.
Yes. I remember, especially in the
Exactly.
earlier days in the groups, that there were stupid things like, do atheists really eat babies?
Yeah,
It's a person who would swear, I sleep in the middle of a pentagram and there's black cats on spikes on each corner of this thing. And they don't view people like us as human even. And it's weird.
exactly. Yeah,
Somebody mentioned the other day that, 500 and something members of Congress in America are not atheists. And I said, no, they're not openly atheists. Because
yeah,
society
yeah,
has demonized atheism so badly that
exactly.
even though you've got freedom of religion, that stigma is still around and it still influences the way people act.
Exactly,
Very,
exactly.
a
But
lot of
do you see
atheists don't go
the
around say
thing
they are
that's
atheists.
exactly, exactly. But the thing, like what I am noticing, I mean, only in the last decade, or I'd say like, yeah, it's not so much the last 2 decades, but in the last decade, there's a tide that's washing in, and it's washing all of this nonsense and stigmatization. What do you call it? There's no stigma around atheists and non-belief so much. And I think we as atheists can learn a lot from the LGBTQ community on this, because they went out of their way and they just they put it in people's faces and said, here we are, deal with it.
And well,
We
you
don't care
say,
what you think. We are here to stay, and that's the lesson that I take away from that movement. And it was powerful, and you can see how the zeitgeist in the entire planet is changing. Towards a more accepting and more open, attitude and outlook on LGBT rights. And the same thing can happen in the atheist community. It's firstly it's breaking those stigmas, having conversations with people. I am very prone to I've got a sarcastic streak to me. I don't know where it comes from. It must be from my mother's side. But if you come to me with a reasonable argument, and you want to have a conversation, you're going to get a reasonable argument and conversation. But if you come to me with hellfire and brimstone, and then you're going to get the nasty side.
no, I'm exactly the same. We had a
Yeah,
person that
no,
used to tell my youngest son that if you're not a Christian, you'll be going to hell. And that used to tick me off. And I would just let this person have it. Eventually they stopped.
yeah,
So I don't go into
yeah,
her
no,
house
exactly,
and tell her people, listen, you're all idiots for believing in something. I don't do that. So kindly afford me the
exactly,
same
exactly.
privilege.
Yeah,
And
no, exactly,
respect is earned.
exactly,
It's not just demanded. And
exactly. That's the thing,
I don't know how situation is, yeah, and I don't know what the situations in the schools are now, but I know when my kids used to go there, it used to be a mess.
Yeah,
Any child that
yeah,
was vocally against, you know, the assemblies and stuff like that, they had a hard time at
yeah,
school. And these are our public
yeah,
schools. My children, for
exactly.
one, my eldest son was almost kicked out of school because they had a school project on religions, and he decided to do the project on Satanism. And the school absolutely freaked. They wanted to kick him out. Then they asked him to do assembly, scripture and a prayer. And he said he's not going to do it because he's an agnostic, and he feels it wouldn't be right if he stands there and read out of the Bible and pray. And that's the second time I had to go there and stop them from kicking him out. And these are our public schools. I don't know if things are any better now, but
No,
if I
I mean,
look
like,
at
surely
the
that's an
web pages
issue that you
online
can
and that,
take up. something like that you can take up with the Constitutional Court or something, because, it's blatant discrimination based on your religion, or lack of religion.
And the problem is, at the end of the day, is you've only got your word and the child's word, and the entire... No, it's not. You just stand there and you fight your way through. Those teachers did not like
No,
me.
exactly.
They really did not like me. But I wasn't going to keep quiet just for that. I mean,
No, fuck
they
that.
didn't force the Muslim kids to go. Why should the atheist kids go? Things like that.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, this is the thing with, South Africans especially, and especially South Africans in a position of power. They're very quick to discriminate. Extremely quick to discriminate against people. Yeah.
Very. We like to sit there and point fingers.
Yeah.
But that's
I
the
mean, like, one of
Afrikaner
my
thing as well.
Yeah, exactly. I said one of my passions in particular is community building. So that's why we in Cape Town here, we've got our Atheist Republic consulate. It's growing, and we've got a couple of new members coming in every week. So I'm very passionate about nurturing and growing that community and just giving people a safe space to basically be themselves. Like sometimes people are in an environment where they are, boxed in on four sides with religious relatives or whatever, and it's good to have a space just with like-minded people where you can vent and talk. And you're an administrator on a very large debate group, right? So I was wondering if you have any insights into community building or anything like that, maybe that you can...
Not from South Africa, no. Not from South Africa.
Right. Yeah. I think your position in that group is more or less just like to be a wall between two fighting parties.
I'm an online babysitter. That's what it is. Making sure that grown-up babies play nice. But unfortunately, I don't think there's really much of a safe space in South Africa for people like that.
Yeah,
Now,
exactly.
people may usually either just dance around the religious topic, or they just avoid each other. Those are the two options.
Yeah. You see, the thing, not many atheists have anything in common. That's also one thing that really counts against us. Religious people have got a shared vision and a shared direction that they try to follow. And atheists is just a bunch of cats. They just run around all over the show. They don't give a rat's behind about any kind of direction or... if you want 10 different opinions, put 10 different atheists in a room.
Yes, and because everybody has got their own idea of what their life should go, how their life should go. There's no little book that tells us we have to do this, or that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And but that's one of the things that's a bother to me is the way they are in the South African schools. I don't know if it's better now, but if nobody's going to enforce the Constitution, it's not going to get any better, I suppose.
Exactly. But I mean, I have seen instances in my news feed, of people actually challenging this, and taking some schools to task. There was, it was now recently now, not this year, last year, I think there was a case where, it was a Christian school that discriminated against some Muslim children. I'm not, I can't remember exactly where it was. And the law was very clear about it. They got legal advice, and the school had to finally give in. And
Yeah.
But this kind of thing, that separation, like the Yanks have got this idea of separation of church and state, and I think that thing is sorely lacking here in
Completely,
our country.
because they try and they try and make room for everybody, and there isn't enough space for that in one little small school. But remember,
Exactly.
my son is now, what, 25 years old, 26? So this was a couple of years back. Now, back then you couldn't really, you open your mouth and everybody just loses their minds, which was funny to see, but it didn't get you anywhere.
Exactly.
But around here where I live, but I've noticed with the younger generations are less religious than what their parents are.
Yeah.
I've noticed that much. So a lot of my children's friends are irreligious. And I feel that's a good thing, but I also blame the internet, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
And I think
But
people
I think
have
it's also
learned
the availability of information, and just the way that
exactly.
people have been exposed. As soon as the internet came in, everybody had information about everything. People didn't have to take, the teacher or the parent or the minister's word for it. They can find information for themselves, and that's been one of the big things that helped the atheist movement move forward, especially.
Yes, and I think that's why a lot of the
Antagonists.
That stigma, there's the stigma that was around us. I think that's why that's slowly but surely falling away, because people could see online, they could find information, and they realized we don't really go around and do all these horrible things.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because personally, I don't care what people believe.
Me too.
I really don't care.
I care about your, I care about your religion when you are trying to get me to believe it as well. That's when we're going to have a big problem.
Yes, if you tell me I can't do it because you believe so and so.
Exactly.
If your rules tells you can't do it, don't do it. Yes. But don't tell me I can't do it because you're breaking up. You went dead for a moment.
I was saying you can believe whatever you want to. If you want to believe that the universe is 10 minutes old and it's been farted out by pixies in the forest, go for it.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I don't want to believe that as well. You have no right to tell me what to believe. And that's where I have a very big problem with Christianity, especially.
Yes, and don't demonize me because I do not believe the same as what you do, because that's what Christianity does in a big way.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's where the problem lies, is with the demonizing.
Yeah, exactly. But
I see a lot of that online too.
Religion is tribal by its very nature. There's an in-group and an out-group, and if you're not part of the in-group, then you're part of the out-group. There's
yes, one is not like the other.
A real mind fuck for the believers must be people who don't want to be in either camp. We just going like it's your fight. You guys can sort it out. I'm not participating in this. They're like,
I'm going to McDonald's. And a lot of times I felt like pulling out of these discussions because it's the same thing over and over and over again. There will be no new arguments, because I think all the arguments have been done to death. But every now and then somebody pops up and then they say, you said this and that got me thinking. Or actually, the very first person that came to me and said I was, not me personally, but she was following me for a while and then she deconverted. And she said, the very first person that came to me with that now was African from South Africa. And I thought to myself, if I could get through to somebody like that, because their culture is completely different to ours.
Exactly.
Then I'm a soldier forth.
Exactly.
Because you never know
like
who's reading.
Exactly. What you say now is the reason why. Excuse me. Is the reason why I do my activism. It's just for that. Even if just one single person reads it, thinks for themselves, make up their own mind, decide, okay, it's bullshit. That's worth it for me. It's all worth it in the end of the day. I can go and push up daisies, knowing that I've made a difference in at least one person's life. Like that's
Exactly.
that's the important thing. Yeah, it's just
Because
to give that voice.
You change one person's mind, and that is going to influence the partner they choose eventually. And that's going to influence the way they raise their kids. It's going to change their entire family's future of how they're going to be.
Yeah. Exactly.
And nobody says they don't have to grow up being religious, but at least they'll be more open-minded. They won't be as dogmatic as what we were raised. Because really, I was raised as conservative as sin. It's not even funny. Sorry, the cats are a bit in the way tonight.
Yeah.
They're not used to me speaking to my screen.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is my, I really feel passionate about African non-believers, like people of color as African non-believers. I've been a member of this group in Kenya, Atheists in Kenya. They've got a guy there called Harrison Mumia. He is one of those, atheists that are a stone in the shoe of everybody. They sue the government, they sue the companies. It's fun to watch. It really is fun to watch, and we need more of that. We need more of that kind of because it's it's
That's
just
the
the
only way.
resistance.
Yes.
Yeah. It's because the Christians, especially in Africa, right? They think they are strong because they are in the majority. They've got so many people who follow them, so they automatically assume that because they are in the majority, they can make the rules, they can tell everybody how to live, and that bullshit has to stop.
And when that doesn't work, they bully people. Like they go and pick it there by the family planning, and they pick on minorities. That's what they do. They look for people that are broken, who's easy to influence and easy to manipulate.
It's like hyenas, it's a bunch of fucking hyenas. They're looking for the animal in the herd that they can chase off the herd and friet.
And attack.
It's sickening, man.
That's exactly what they do. My daughter went in ex-derde kamp. I don't know if it's got any other name. But it's like one of these Bible camps at school. I don't know why she went. I think she went because a boy she loved went. And she said they were standing there in a row, and this pastor was preaching at them. It was early high school. This pastor was preaching at them, and then he would touch the the kids on the forehead like this, and they'll just fall over and, like rip on the floor. She said that when the guy went and stood in front of her and he did this, she just looked at him because she wasn't sure what to do. She said she didn't feel like falling over, so she just stood there and looked at him. She says, he did this a couple of times more, and he left it and walked on. So it's all mass hysteria.
It is, yeah, it is.
Because my children aren't believers, so...
Yeah. I find this so interesting, like when, when...
This cat doesn't want to go.
Shame, man. I've also got a cat. My cat's over here behind me.
I've got 19.
Oh my goodness. That's a whole cattery.
The other one's clawing at my feet at the moment.
Shame, man. They're adorable.
And it's not going to stop. You know how they are. It's not going to stop.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, man, this is great. Like this is great having a conversation with you, meeting new atheists, and just introducing you to our group in Cape Town. What is the debate group that you are an admin on, Catherine?
It's atheist and Christian debate, but remember, Facebook must close the old group down, so we're building up from the bottom again.
Sure. I'll put a link to it, when I post this video in our group, and then people can join it and just go check out the debate and get their debate on, because that's that's what I like.
They can meet John Lee.
Debate is what I heard it a long time ago. Somebody said, debate is the grindstone upon which you sharpen your mind. So it's a valuable tool. It teaches you how to think on your feet, and I really enjoy debate. Yeah, ever since I was a child, I really enjoyed it.
Because when I just joined the groups, I had no idea. Somebody added me to the group, and I was on the fence as it was. And I was looking at this, and I had no idea what the people were saying. I had no idea what the terminology was. My English was atrocious. I used to have these conversations with Google Translate open in the other tab. And then Google Translate was equally horrid because it didn't get everything right at the same time.
Exactly.
So I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
And if you're really interested and you follow the links people give you and you go and read up on it, it's maybe information you'll never use in your life, but it's information nonetheless.
It's interesting, that's the
exactly.
thing. What I realized, as soon as I left religion, I had so much free time, and I could spend that free time cultivating my intellect and looking into things that interest me. I didn't have to spend hours and hours reading, some dusty old book and spending time going to church and going to all these groups and things that they have. No.
Oh, good Lord, I grew up in church. We had to go to church an hour every single day. Saturdays, most Saturdays, twice on a Sunday, I swear.
Oh, no.
And remember, you're not allowed to visit outside of the church. So you go to school, you come home, you do your homework, you go to church, you come home, you go to bed. That was life. That was life. And look, don't get me wrong, my parents, they weren't bad parents. I wasn't abused. I had a good childhood.
Yeah.
They probably did what they felt was the right thing at the time. But I thought to myself, I won't do that to my children.
Exactly. I also, I also went through this period where, after deconverting, when I was, there's a phase, where you realize, okay, fuck, I've been conned my whole life, and you are so pissed off and angry that you're looking for something and someone to blame or to put the blame on, just so that, you can justify that feeling of anger, but gradually it changes and it becomes more of an acceptance, and then you finally just let it go. And like you say, you realize, people do for you what they think is in your best interest, and, they get it horribly wrong. Everybody gets a whole lot of shit horribly wrong.
I wasn't an abused child. I always had food, I always had clothes. My parents were sober people. There's nothing to complain about. But the one thing I did promise myself is that I will not raise my children so strictly. And I didn't.
Yeah.
And they decided this entire thing is nonsense way before I even thought of not being a Christian anymore.
Yeah.
They were non-believers way before me. And I just let them be.
Good. Yeah.
Because today I sit on a farm and I absolutely shudder at the thought of going into public. I'm absolutely antisocial, completely.
Right.
And sometimes I sit and think maybe it's the way I was raised. Because I was an only child. So you go to school, you come home, You're just with the 2 old people,
Yeah.
and you mingle with people at church a little bit, and that's it. There was no social life.
Right. Right.
And
I was also
that,
raised as an only child. Strange that you mentioned that. But what it teaches you is independence. It teaches you to be
yes,
furiously independent. Yeah.
yes, and
You don't.
stubborn, and I was a horrible teenager.
But that's
And
it's strange. That's the one thing that I find that religion gives people a big sense of community. There's a
yes,
sense of community, solidarity, and that's one thing we can actually learn from them. It's just to be an accepting community. Accept everybody. And create like I said, create a space where people can express themselves, free
and
from
that's why
judgment, free from any. Yeah,
that's why there's those atheist churches. It's called an atheist
yeah,
church. But they go there and they discuss all kinds of weird things and listen to all kinds of nice music, but it's just for the sense of
uh,
community. And that's it.
uh,
Because that is the one thing that I missed when I left.
right.
Because I grew
Yeah,
up in that specific congregation. Everybody there grew
right,
up with me. And all the
right.
tannies and worms grew old with me. Old. I never knew any other people
Exactly,
except those people. It's actually quite
exactly.
cult-like
Yeah,
if I
and
think of it.
yeah, yeah, and what did we say? Weddings, funerals, and what was there? There's another weddings, weddings,
Yeah,
engagements, and funerals. No, weddings, baptisms, and
and
funerals.
funerals.
Tho- Yeah, those are the three events in your life when like the church really makes a big impact on people.
And
But
that's
yeah,
even the scary part. We were there for every funeral, for every baptism, and for every wedding, whether you know the person or not. This is part of your church. You will be there. End of.
yeah, yeah,
I even used to play the
yeah.
organ in church. Can you believe that? Do I look like an organist?
Oh, that's interesting.
No,
No, you
it's
don't strike me. You strike me more as like as someone in a rock band.
you see now. You see now.
But
But I
what
did.
what I was going to say is like I recently also heard about something. Somebody talked about trauma. Like I think they called it religious trauma syndrome or something.
Mm.
Where people are actually traumatized by religion, like it's something that they're busy studying on a psychological level, where they realize how that trauma of all those beliefs that you are fed, to believe, it actually damages you psychologically because, I think I sent you a link or something where, you start, you don't take responsibility for your actions. You believe that you are always at fault. You start becoming a victim of all these behaviors, and it, it really infects us in a very serious way where we don't stand in our own sovereignty as human beings. Like we
So
become
you don't rely on
almost like
yourself.
puppets that
Mm.
fully, yeah,
Because I
yeah,
remember when I started questioning everything I was taught regarding God and religion, the way I was brought up. The thing that hit me the hardest was coming to terms with there's no afterlife. Because at every funeral, you are assured that these people, that died, they are up there and they can still see your actions. And when you dream of them, we were taught that when you dream of them, it's them communicating with you. Because you
ah,
always had in the back of your mind, your loved ones are in contact with you, and when you die, you'll be reunited with them. So when you
right,
had to
right.
come to terms with the fact that there's probably no afterlife, there's probably no reunion, it
Yeah,
is like
it's a big
saying
shock. Yeah,
goodbye to these people again. It's little things like that, but it's got a great impact on me.
yeah,
It took me
yeah,
a while to get rid of all these, and I always have this nagging little thing in my head that says, "What if you're wrong?
yeah.
What if you're
Exactly,
wrong? Then
exactly.
you're going to hell. What if you're wrong?" But I'm over that now.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
I've reached a
No,
point
I
where I
mean,
really don't
especially
care.
like it's yeah, it's such a big weight that religion places on you. You know, like they make you.
Yes.
You know, I mean, you know, if it's true, it's like winning the eternal lottery. You know, like the big lottery in the sky, and you're gonna live forever, comfortably happy. You know. But, you know, as soon as you start questioning and you realize, like, you know, maybe I'm not going to win the lottery, you know, it's just part of life. You know, you live, you die. You begin to accept those things as part of life, you know. And somebody once said something, it's like along the lines of, you know, who really wants to live forever? You know, like the first 100 years, singing and praising, you're going to be fine. You know, like, I mean, I would lose the plot, like, after 2 years of singing and praising.
2 years? I wouldn't even make a week. I get bored way too easily. I'd be that little angel on the cloud jumping off, hoping suicide's a thing. Oh, no, I can't think of anything worse.
I tell Christians always, you know, like, so what's the plan here? Are we all going to be in heaven? Yes. I said, are you going to be there? Yes. I said, then I don't want to go.
I don't want to be there. I mean, can you imagine sitting there with John Lee and Matt Adams and... Really? What do I have to do not to go there? I can't think of anything more horrible.
Oh, hysterical.
Besides, the people can't get the criteria right in any case. Some say you can only get there through faith. Others say you can only get there through deeds. Others say you need deed and faith. So which is it now?
Exactly. Yeah.
So at some point, I have decided...
I want to say to them, I want to say to them sometimes, why don't you guys just get together and get your story straight?
Yes.
Give us the Christianity, because
you're telling me this is the ultimate truth, but there's 42,000 denominations. A truth doesn't have versions. It's either true or it's not.
Yeah. I mean, you know, that should be the indication that this is conceived by people.
Exactly.
You know, the fact that there are, you know, so many different flavors of it. You know, this is not the work of a divine being. If it is, I'm not impressed.
He's brain dead. Biggie special. Maar, it's also when I ask them, how do you know your interpretation of the Bible is correct? Because the Holy Spirit speaks through me. You know, is with me when I read the book. But the people that don't agree with your interpretation says exactly the same thing. So either your Holy Spirit is lying to groups of people about what this Bible says, all of you are just pray as you go. That's it. You make the shit up as you go. It's as easy as that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I was an adult before I ran into my first young earther. My denomination didn't teach that Adam and Eve were the first physical people. Okay, so we never shunned evolution, we never shunned the Big Bang Theory, because the entire Bible was taken metaphorically. And this is how I was raised, and this is what I believe. And then you run into this adult that actually believes the earth is 6,000 years old, and that Adam and Eve were the same people, and then you just stand and stare at them, because I don't know what to say to them. It's like, you believe what now? And...
Say what?
Yeah, and I was dumbfounded. Like, do people actually believe this? Why? How does it make sense to you?
Just here in our country, you know, like the Sterkfontein caves, they found, like, you know, fossils of, you know, people that are hundreds of thousands of years.
Was it Homo naledi?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is like thinking that, the Earth is 6,000 years old is thinking that from Johannesburg to Cape Town is 100 meters. You know, that's how big the error is. You know,
Yes.
It's just like they've got absolutely zero conception of deep time. You know.
But then you ask them, but also those are the kind of people that will tell you nothing will change their minds. They can have facts in front of their faces and they won't change their minds.
You know, the funny thing is, you know, I also used to do that a lot. You know, like I used to ask people, what will it take to change your mind? You know, and if there's nothing that can change their mind, then their position is unfalsifiable. You know, which
Exactly.
means it's not rational. You know, so
No.
there's no point in actually talking
But
or
belief,
discussing anything with a person like that. You know,
but belief isn't rational, if you think about it.
no, it's not. No, it's not. It's a conviction. You know, like it's
Yes. But also, you can't actually fault the people for it because you can't choose what you're convinced of. You get information, your mind processes it, and you're either convinced or you're not.
yeah, yeah.
Because these people
thing
believe there's a
nowadays
choice. No,
is
it's not.
it's not. No, it's not. My approach nowadays is to you know, especially with the Christian flavor, what I do is I ask them what they believe and why they believe it.
Yes,
You know,
you
so
have to.
the why thing is, you know, it's very seldom that you know, they can tell you, yes, I believe Jesus is the blah 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 blah. But you know, that's not telling you why they believe it. You know, so I
No.
press them for why. You know, usually it's this arbitrary reason. You know, like I'm scared of dying. You know, like, well, welcome to the club. Fucking everybody is scared of dying, you asshole.
Yeah, or
You know.
you know,
Not-
just know, just know God does exist. You know the old Pascal's wager.
Exactly.
Yes, and then you die and you worship the wrong God. What now?
Then you're doubly screwed. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I've reached a point where I really couldn't care whether deities exist or not. Because it's pointless. There's so many claimed deities, we'll never know whether they
Exactly.
exist or not. And if we have to wait until we die, then fuck it. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, you know, you know, if I believe, you know, I am convinced of this, right? If I live a good, decent life and I'm good to my fellow creatures on the planet, I don't do harm, I don't cause anybody unnecessary pain or suffering or strife, I'm good. You know, I'm good to die. You know, whatever is, if there is something on the other side, I'll face it. You know, like I'll be good. You know, and if for some reason belief was the criteria to you know, to actually be in some afterlife, then fuck it, I didn't believe, so you know, that's it, end of the story.
So
You know,
that's
like,
the worst thing I did.
I can sleep, yeah, I can sleep comfortably at night knowing that I live a good life, that I do good to my fellow creatures, and I try to make the world a better place than you know, going out than what it was when I was coming in. So if I succeed in that, then I am happy, you know, and just keep
Exactly.
your bullshit
And
religion away from me.
it doesn't make sense to me that you tell me you worship a God of love, and the same God of love is
Yeah.
going to roast your ass because, yes, you were a good
Yeah.
person, but you didn't worship it. You think it
But you
actually
know, God
rewards
likes
the
smell of
loving
burning
thing.
flesh, eh? The smell
Sorry?
of burning meat is very pleasing. The smell of burning meat
Yes, yes, yes.
is very pleasing to the Lord, you know.
Yeah, I know. That's what caused the first murder. He didn't like the veggies. God is not a vegan. Oh,
Oh, excellent.
it's a good thing. So, no.
Okay, so this was really a great chat, Catherine. I think we should can it here because I'm just noticing my recording. I'm running close to the hour mark when my thing is going to run out. So
Okay.
again, you know, thank you so much for the chat, and it was great talking to you, meeting you in person. Like I said, you know, we've been online, seeing one another. So
For long.
yeah, again, thank you very much. Yeah, and I'm going to put the link to the group in our chat on our Facebook page as well. And yeah, we'll see you out there in Facebook land.